It started quietly. Not with a press release. Not with a dramatic scene. Just a single post from Lee Min-ho. A picture that carried more emotion than thousands of words ever could. A goodbye to a companion who walked beside him for 16 years. A small presence with a huge place in his heart. In a world that constantly demands noise, attention, and spotlight, this was different. This was personal. This was the kind of loss that shapes a person quietly from the inside. For 16 years, that little dog wasn't just a pet. It was his calm when fame got too loud. His constant when the world kept demanding more. While millions watched his life on screen, the romances, the action scenes, the charm, the elegance, there was one set of eyes waiting for him off-screen. Every day, without fail. Those were the eyes he came home to. Those were the eyes that reminded him that before the fame, before the awards, before the expectations, he was just a person who needed a place to rest. And that place, for 16 years, was the soft presence of his dog. People don't always understand how silent losses can shape someone. When a celebrity faces heartbreak, the world often expects a statement, a story, a dramatic interview. But Lee Min-ho has always been different. His life has never been built on noise. He has always protected the private moments that anchor him. So when he shared that quiet post, fans could feel it instantly. Not because it was loud, but because it was honest. And honesty from someone so guarded always hits differently. For years, that dog had been with him through every script he studied, every overseas flight, every late-night shoot, every award ceremony, and every lonely moment behind the glamorous image. When he struggled, it understood. When he triumphed, it stayed the same. Fame changes people, but pets never do. They teach you about loyalty without speaking. They love without needing explanation. And when they leave, they take a piece of you with them, the piece that stayed soft through all the chaos. Lee Min-ho didn't lose a pet. He lost a part of his daily life. The part that greeted him without judgment. The part that didn't care if he was tired, stressed, imperfect, or human. And that silent loss, that kind of quiet heartbreak, became the turning point for something deeper. Something fans could feel but couldn't quite name. Because grief doesn't just break you. It reshapes you. Slowly. Silently. It rearranges your priorities, your emotions, your habits. It forces you to ask yourself what truly matters. And for Lee Min-ho, that moment came softly, in the stillness after 16 years of companionship suddenly ending. But what made this loss even more profound was how he carried it. Not with dramatic displays, not with emotional overload, but with the same quiet strength he has always lived by. He mourned with dignity. He honored the memory gently. And he allowed himself to feel the weight of the moment while still moving forward. That balance, that quiet resilience, is what makes him different. For many years, people have admired his talent, his visuals, his roles. But it's moments like these that reveal the part of him fans don't always see. The human part. The vulnerable part. The part that doesn't stand in front of cameras. The part that doesn't follow scripts. The part that loves deeply, quietly, and unconditionally. This quiet loss marked the beginning of something even more unexpected. While mourning privately, he was also preparing for one of the biggest transitions of his career. A new film. A new character. A new chapter. A project that required intensity, focus, emotion, and a new version of himself. And somehow, that loss became the emotional foundation for what came next. It didn't break him. It deepened him. Actors often say that personal moments shape their performances. But in Lee Min-ho's case, the transformation wasn't dramatic. It was subtle. His presence began to feel more grounded. His interviews carried more softness. His smiles, though still bright, held a quiet maturity. Not sadness, but wisdom. The kind that only comes when life teaches you something real. Fans noticed it. Even people who casually followed him noticed it. Something in him had shifted. He wasn't louder. He wasn't trying to reinvent himself. He wasn't chasing a new image. He was simply becoming more real, more grounded, and more present. That quiet loss didn't take something away from him.
It added something. Depth.
Perspective, calmness, a deeper understanding of himself. Because grief can either close you or open you. And in his case, it opened something, a new chapter he didn't plan, but grew into. A chapter where his art, his presence, and his energy felt different. Stronger, but softer. Mature, but still gentle. This is the kind of evolution that doesn't happen on screen. It happens in the quiet moments no one sees. It's easy to think of celebrities as untouchable, always beautiful, always composed, always glowing under lights. But the truth is, they also carry losses that shape their stories. They also go through moments where the world feels heavy. But how they walk through those moments is what defines their character. And Lee Min-ho walked through his quietly, just as he always has.
With strength.
With dignity. With heart. As he prepared for his new film, there was a noticeable shift in the way he approached the project. He carried the maturity of someone who understood life a little more deeply. The kind of understanding you don't get from scripts or fame, but from real experiences, the ones that hurt, the ones that change you, the ones that remind you of what's important. The quiet loss became a quiet strength, and that strength moved into his work, into his choices, into the way he showed up for his fans, into the way he communicated, into the person he was becoming, slowly but clearly. People often talk about reinvention like it's a dramatic transformation. But for him, it was subtle. It wasn't a reinvention. It was evolution. A soft one. A real one. A human one. And that evolution made this chapter of his career feel different from the rest. Not because he was returning with noise, but because he was returning with depth. With sincerity. With a heart that had felt something real and wasn't afraid to show it through his work. Fans didn't just see an actor coming back to the big screen. They saw someone who had grown quietly through something painful. Someone who had taken a private heartbreak and turned it into a strengthened presence. Someone who wasn't trying to prove anything, but simply being himself, the more mature, more grounded version. This is why the story of his quiet loss matters. Not because it brings sadness, but because it reveals resilience. It shows that strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it breathes. Sometimes it begins in the softest, most personal corners of life. And in that quiet place, something powerful was born. His fans continue to support him not just because he is talented, but because he carries himself with authenticity. Because he knows how to protect his heart while still giving the world parts of himself. Because even in loss, he remains graceful. Because even in pain, he remains kind. And because even when life gets heavy, he rises with a calm strength that inspires others. The quiet loss didn't define him. It refined him. And as he steps into this new chapter, with new roles, new expectations, and a deeper understanding of himself, one thing is clear. This version of Lee Min-ho is not just returning. He is evolving. And sometimes, the most powerful transformations begin not with noise, but with a quiet goodbye.